we're completely, ecstatic as a program to add these two guys that we centered in on over a year prior to signing day. Um, Tyone comes from famed Mount St. Joseph High School, Baltimore Catholic League. Pat Clatchy, who's a Hall of Famer, fantastic coach. They breed winners. Guys that leave their program are not only ultra successful, but they come from a place that's well schooled and also goes through the grind of traditional high school. Get older, play your role, win, and grow into becoming, sort of stud players as you get older. And we expect Tyone to have fantastic senior season, compete for all championships, as usual down there. But, he's a three-level player. He's very unique in terms of physical gifts at 6'6". He's already 215 pounds long, but comes in, in the door in high school with the maturity physically. He's a developing perimeter player, but he has that hybrid feel of being able to guard bigger guys, go against bigger guys, and also use the perimeter skills that he has in terms of being able to bring guys away from the basket and use his strength. Typical Baltimore toughness, which we love, competitive, fearless, comes from a great family, and totally excited about not only the year that he's going to have, but also him joining us. Benjamin Hammond, true point guard, again, coming from maybe the most powerful high school basketball program currently in the DMV, Washington, D.C. Area, Catholic League. He plays on a star-studded group all the way up from 5 years old until he's at right now. He is accustomed to keeping people happy, playing the position the right way, defensively and offensively, makes teams go. And Glenn Ferrello does a fantastic job. They'll be competing for national rankings all year long, and the competition level that they're going to play is going to provide not only Ben with an upper hand as he comes to college, but a confidence about him. And I think the thing that's unique about both guys, and in particular in talking about Ben, is the expectation, the winning, and the coaching that these guys are getting coming in. Both guys at one high school, both guys have climbed the ranks, and both guys are fantastic kids coming from both great families. But Ben, as we look at it, gives us the ability level to continue to play at a fast pace. I think one of the things that we're making work now is that point guard position, but he gives you a scat back who can really, really push the ball, understands the way you want to play in terms of getting guys involved. And I think as his career unfolds, he's going to be one of the more popular guys, not only here but in college basketball, in terms of being able to watch. If you watch both guys closely and you study where they've come from, their success level in college translates. So we're just totally jacked up about both guys joining us. To me, they're two of the better recruits that I've ever had in the Atlantic 10 in terms of bringing in Atlantic 10 players. I think those guys bring all attributes. So we're obviously very appreciative and happy about those two guys. It was really, you go through a first recruiting class with 3 high school freshmen this year who we've spent some time with, and then this class with these two guys obviously even had more time to sort of digest and invest our time in recruiting. So we feel really good about where we're at there. Turning the page and going to game 2, we have a quick turnaround, kind of like a conference turnaround, 2 days in between. So it's kind of getting ready for that feeling of game upon game, and I'm anxious to see how our guys come off of the other night, get improvement more so from film and some teaching points than it is actually court work. You're going to have to put some things together, but we clearly have to play a much more complete and a much better game on Thursday against Fairfield to be successful. We will not be able to get away with the lapses, and we will not be able to get away with the attention to detail type of things defensively, and offensively, being able to play a more complete game in terms of having less turnovers, better offense, and improved post play will be needed. Fairfield played the other night just like we did. You can tell they have a moxie about them. They're out to prove people wrong. They're severely banged up, which is unfortunate for their team. And as they get healthier, they're going to continue to get better. But their coaching staff has full command of their group right now. They competed very, very hard at Boston College. They were terrific on the offensive glass. They were great in transition, in particular their guard play. And they're going to present a lot of problems with us. Very concerned with Floyd and Goodine, who both really talented perimeter guards who can score it. Goodine had, I think, 22 in the game, really shot it well, and Floyd, being a bigger guard who can get to the paint, really concerned. You know, Rogan had double figures as well, and he's a lights-out shooter, so I think at the 1, 2, and the 3, they're obviously, you know, at strength, and if Fields is out, those guys will continue to gain confidence. If Fields adds back in, you know, that gives them a starting point guard who was a double-figure scorer a year ago. And inside, I thought their freshmen did a fantastic job. Had 12 and 6 at Boston College, and faced up, had good touch, played hard, physical, did a really good job in their game, and I was impressed. You know, I think you go on the road, your first game of the season with a new staff. You know, guys are out. I thought they really competed, and I think they'll be much more comfortable as they come in and play us Thursday. So I expect it to be an absolute dogfight, and we're going to have to play obviously a lot better and a lot cleaner in a lot of areas that we kind of got away with the other night. In particular, I think the defensive rebounding really is something that if it's not in check on Thursday, will go a long way with the way they rebounded and the way we didn't. So I'll leave it at that.
Coach, you mentioned their absence of some key players. They have 4 guys that were out in that game. 2 of them are going to be game day decisions, it seems. How difficult is it to prepare matchup-wise, not knowing for sure what personnel is going to be out there when they're key guys like that? Yeah,
it's tough. I think, you know, early in the season, anytime you get ready to start the year, you're not as much information, and it's much more about you, especially this time of year, of things that you can control and things that you have to get better on. And right now, defensively, way too many lapses. Lack of rebounding the other night really stood out. And if you just get better in those 2 areas, regardless of who you're playing, you're going to play better. Offensively, we had no post presence in this game. And I also thought that, you know, we really didn't handle the second half adjustments very well in terms of turning the ball over against some different coverages and whatnot. So we weren't very, if we just clean up some of the areas of ourselves we got to get better at, that probably helps us more so than knowing who's in the game and who's out of the game. We have to control that. But you're really going on not a lot of information here, especially in Fairfield's case. They've had a lot of changes through the summer and leading into the season. I think there's a change of philosophy there in terms of the way they're playing, but I also think they're trying to make it work with guys being out. So as they come back, they're going to get better. And if they come back, you know, against us Thursday night, they'll be much improved, but we have to go on what we have to control, which to me is some of those things that we talked about. And if we're better on the glass, that's one big step in us being a better team. If we're better in taking care of it and being a little sharper in terms of our execution, that helps us. And we know we're going to play against good players night in and night out, and we know we're going to have to, you know, defend better and do that stuff. So I expect, like I said, I think Thursday night's going to be a real, real tough game for us, and we're going to have to be much improved.
When teams have a coaching change, let alone that close to the start of the season, do you find that they have enough time to play differently, or is it generally what you've seen before, the style that they've had under the former coach?
You know, I think each situation is probably a little bit different. The great thing about Fairfield is that they have tremendous experience on their bench, and I think you can tell right away that their coaching staff and their team, they're united right now. There was great scrap, there was great fight, there was great moxie on their bench all game long. Their injured players were up all game long coaching the guys on the floor, and you can tell they're pulling for one another really hard right now. When there's a change in philosophies or a change in style of plays with some of those things, I think part of it could potentially be, especially with Fairfield, they have so many guys out. You know, they maybe not be able to do what they accustomed, like really want to do with their personnel. So I think as they get guys back, maybe they can get back to doing some of the things that they were before. But I think that the coach is going to put his own staple on this group, and I think that they've played really up-tempo the other night. I thought that they attacked tremendously in transition. It's where they did a ton of damage. And I think they were really aggressive on the offensive glass. Two things that, like, they were really startling in terms of how they attacked Boston College that way. But I think it was a tempo game in terms of being really up-tempo. And a part of it may be their strength right now is in their backcourt with some of their guys being out. And I think those two guys really have it on go right now. And, to me, that's probably where their strength is, that their 1, 2, and their 3 is the youth movement that they have while their guys are out. Maybe they're handling that a little bit differently. But it's always a crapshoot at the beginning of the season. You have very little to go on. And in some cases, guys are out. So you're catching a team at different times of the year. Maybe 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now will be different. They'll be different. But that's the beauty of really basketball. You can only really be good at so many things. And you can't be good at what the other team's doing. You have to really zero in on how much improvement can you make week to week here in November as you continue to play games and see different strategies and see different coverages, as that prepares you and leads you into, playing a consistent style the rest of the season. And I think for us, as I look at things, we have so many things that we have to get better at. It's very difficult to even prepare for another team.
Doug was just in here, Archie. He was talking about how much he, is okay passing the basketball and moving it around.
Easy.
How much does it help that he's an unselfish guy like that, and you seem to have a lot of unselfish guys on this team?
David's a high character guy, and he's an intelligent basketball player. He thinks the game. He has an IQ. You tend to forget, because when he walks in the room, you think he's a grown up. But you tend to forget right now that he's a first-time college student who's in the United States for the very first time of his life. He's going to college. He's going to class. It's not like he grew up with these guys. He's a young, inexperienced player. And sometimes you forget that with his size. And you look at him as a coaching staff in practice and you expect him to do things a certain way. But he was out there the first night in his college debut, okay? And you expect more, which is crazy to think about for a guy like him. But he's learning. And I think that's the exciting thing, is he's going to get a lot better. He has a lot of ability. He's a willing learner. But I also think he's young, and he also is learning to go through frustrations. Things are different. And the game the other night, defensively, he struggled. And that's his biggest, hiccup right now, I think, for our team and his improvement in our program and getting better, is him becoming a more consistent defender, smarter, learning what's going on, defending on the perimeter more so than inside. Offensively, you can tell he's got a lot of gifts. He's really, really strong with the ball. He's mobile. Sometimes I think he gets too creative, maybe a little bit too Euro out there, in terms of being able to overdo it and keep. But he's got to finish better, and he's got to play smarter defensively. But again, I remember back when I was in college, playing the first game of my college career, and it's this isn't even the same sport, that I'm used to playing. And I think if you brought me into another country and said go to school and do all these things, I think it's a challenge for him. But he's a young guy. He's a great kid. He's got a bright future, and in particular, he plays a huge role for us as a young guy, so there's a lot on his plate. But I think his improvement, will go a long way in our improvement.
I asked him about that, just adjustments off the floor. The fact that he made such a huge life decision to come here, probably bigger than anyone in this room. Did you guys project that he'd be able to handle this? Did you have an idea, personality-wise, that he'd be able to come in and be so comfortable right away?
Well, I think the one thing that's unique about his story is he chose to leave home and pursue basketball outside of his country in Europe. So when you decide to leave mom and you're going to leave Austria and you're going to go to Germany and you're going to join a basketball academy as a 10th grader or whatever it may be, you make a very, very big sacrifice at a young age. It's almost like going to prep school at 10th grade and leaving home and getting out on your own. So he is a little bit more, maybe as an adult, of living on your own and doing some of those things, maybe as a traditional kid who's leaving the nest. So I think you have to give some credit where credit's due in the recruiting process of understanding sort of where he's at maturity-wise, living on his own, handling life, away from home at a young age, and having some, dreams, but also pressure to, get better and be in an intense basketball environment in Germany. A lot of those things, school, a lot of those things. So we had a pretty good idea. You were getting a pretty mature kid off the court. A kid could probably handle the things. But you don't really know what leaving Europe is, coming to the United States for the first time and going to school and living on your own with a new, that's all different for him. So we've been mindful of that. It's probably a change, especially the school part of it, going to class every day. And, in Europe, basketball's every day, and then, classes remotely or whatever it may be. It's not the same. So that may be a little bit more concerning, but I do think regardless of who you are, junior college player, transfer student, freshman in college, European, it's intense when you go to college and you start off, and it is a grind, so I think we're mindful that all of our guys, hitting a wall here early, a lot going on, games are starting to pile up. Are you going to be able to handle it? And I'm sure he'll hit a wall, but he has a different level of, kind of like grown up about him, that he handles his business. He knows how to do that.
So I would follow up by asking, Gilvitas did something very similar going to Sweden as a teenager and then came over here to play at Rutgers to start off. Do you see any sort of relationship or commonality between them behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think, Gil has a great experience for a guy like David in being able to describe, Europe and the translation of college basketball. College basketball is different than pro ball. You know what I mean? The responsibilities in and around it are different. So Gil definitely has that, that, hey, I've been here, done that, and I think Gil has a really good way about him, just in terms of being in practice every day with our guys and helping them. But there's no doubt about it, a guy like Gil's value of mentoring younger players, especially a guy like him who's done some of the things that he's doing and wants to do some of the things that he's going to do. Gil definitely adds some value there.
Coach, you're clearly someone that doesn't like to just settle for the win. You want to excel at all parts of the game, all facets of it. And through the players of yours that I've had this opportunity to speak to post the Assumption game and this Central Connecticut game, it seems that it's a sentiment that they all also share with you. And so how big of a boost is it to have a team of guys, especially a team of guys that are, so many of them have just transferred in, to have bought into that mentality that you're instilling?
I think, one of the things that you really, really strive for as a coach is you want the daily habits and the daily standards that you try to do to carry over into the game. And I think what we're trying to really instill in our players here is winning doesn't really begin on game day. It begins in the weight room at 8 a.m. Are you disciplined enough to bring it? Can you come in every day with a coach that's very, serious about wanting to get better and wanting our team to improve? And, I can't really say I'm all fun and games, you know what I mean? And it's like that wears on guys too, right? And I think, like, bottom line with our players is they're having to adjust to me. They're having to adjust to us being serious. And I do think that there is a want to be better. There is a want to win. And the thing that we're talking about more than anything with our group here, especially early, is team success equals individual accolades. Doesn't work the other way around. Everybody came here really with a clean slate, understanding where we want to go, fresh start, kind of coming into this second year, new people, new roles. This guy transfers from here, this high school kid comes from here. They're all thinking big things. None of it is possible without team success. Nobody cares if you don't win. So I think the buy-in of our bench during games, the buy-in of understanding as a young player like a Cam or a Connor, they're not playing maybe as much here early in the season, that everything they do matters to our team success, and it also puts them in a position to be ready to capitalize when their time comes. So instilling the mentality of understanding it's about team, it's about winning, it's about improving, it's about big picture in mind of our goal of a group to do something special. That is a big change from, hey, I transferred into Rhode Island, I have an opportunity to play a different role in a higher level, and boy, it sounds good. It's not what you sign up for when you come here. When you come here, we're trying to do things that have been done here in the past that we are trying to do now with a new group. And winning the other night feels a lot better than a year ago, right? But it doesn't matter anymore. It's Thursday. So can we come back and do it again? Can we be disciplined enough to have that mentality of improving and team and getting better? And I feel like we have a lot of guys that can really impact. I also feel like there's going to be some sacrifice at times with guys maybe not playing as much here as we figure things out. I also think there's going to be a game when a guy picks up 2 or 3 fouls in the first half, or a guy's injured, or whatever it may be, where that guy's slotted in can be just as effective if he's ready. So it's that mindset of like bigger picture in mind, winning. And I like where our guys are at because I do feel they think we can be good. I just think they don't understand how far away we are from like the daily approach and like being serious about like what we're trying to do. Oh, I'm tired. It's practice again. Like, Like, we have only so much time to get ready for this next one on Thursday, and can we be good yesterday? Can we be good today? Can we be way better Thursday than we were Monday? Like, that's me, and I think probably a little bit too much. Winning isn't just enough. It's winning and doing better, and getting better. So, long-winded answer, but I guess, like, when you sign up to play here, you sign up for, a little bit more than just the opportunity.
I would think if you're clear with them about that through recruiting and up front, that they'd be a lot more receptive to it, right? Instead of them getting on campus and you being a completely different person in that way?
No question. Like, how you recruited is how you're treated. And when you wake up in the morning, you want to see the guys that recruited you coach you. They don't want to see, like, who's that guy right there in the hallway right now? He's not the same guy that I was talking to, whatever. It's very clear on the front end when you come here what we're trying to do and what we want to be a part of. And not everybody can deal with that, and we can't deal with everybody. But the guys that are here right now, we as a staff believe that they belong, and they're here for the right reasons. And I think they all have to, probably butt their heads against the wall to say, yeah, I did sign up for this every once in a while. Like, this is what it's like. You got to run back on defense. You got to do certain things a certain way. And I think you tend to forget sometimes when guys transfer to a program that they were coached by different people. They were taught different ways. And, like, when you look at Jaden House, you see the game, boy, he played well. And I look at Jaden and I said, man, he can do so many more things well for us other than score the ball. And when you talk to him, he looks at you sometimes and he's like, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I really don't know what you're you're still trying to coach these guys. They're brand new. So, and we're trying to stamp it into their brain. This is the way it happens. This is the way it has to be. This is the way we're going to do it. And you got to get better at it. And it's like we had a scouting segment in practice yesterday, and it took 10 minutes too long. We're not walking through. You're not quiet. You're not doing this. And, like, House looked at me, and he's like, kind of looked at me like, damn, coach. It's like just going through their stuff. If you would approach things right now 10 minutes after the fact, the way you're approaching them right now, we'd be a way more efficient team in terms of what we're trying to do. And I think that's the thing that we're trying to get over the hump with this group of, like, business, serious. When we go, we go. When we don't go, we don't go. But no question, everybody that's here was signed up for the right reasons, I feel.
Coach, and then we got to get